everyone, this is Cyrus
And Amanda.
and welcome to our next episode of the Gowns and Crowns podcast, where we talk all things pageantry. So today we're going to cover,
Judges.
we're going to talk to you a little bit about what we think directors should look for when they pick their judges. And these aren't mine and Amanda's personal opinions. We surveyed a lot of our clients and what they would like to see in a judge when they sit down in front of them. And then we're also going to talk about a little bit, if you're lucky enough to be asked to be a judge, how we think you should approach judging this pageant. Or a pageant, or a competition.
Level of professionalism.
Yeah, level of professionalism
Either.
you should bring with it.
Yes.
So let's start off with, maybe this is for the directors. Now, this is not to say that directors don't know what they're doing, because they all do. And I know they bring variety of judges to judge a variety of different competitions, but I've never known a director to ever take a survey and ask contestants what they look for.
Oh, their feedback.
Yeah, their feedback and what they would look for in a judge. Now, because you and I do teach full time, all day, every day, we get a lot of feedback from a lot of girls. So I always ask the girls when they come back, well, how were the judges? And when you've sat in front of the judges yourself,
Yes.
I'm sure sometimes you were like, well, could I have another judge? Could we pick another judge for this competition?
That's been few and far between, but that has happened before.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think the first thing that I hear and like I said again, I'm talking for I feel like we're kind of being the voice for the contestants
Yes.
today. The one thing that the girls seem to ask for is that a judge at least seems qualified to judge a pageant on paper. I do think it's great that you can bring in, celebrities, and you can bring in people in this field and that field, but what do they really know about judging pageants? And I think these girls who put in a lot of effort deserve to be judged by people in their field, like
Absolutely.
makeup artists, fitness coaches, wardrobers, but a lot of times they end up getting the CEO of a Fortune 500, and while that may be good in interview, what do they really know about judging a girl on stage?
Right.
And they want judges that seem qualified. I always tell them this. I think it's funny when a girl comes back and I go, let me see the judges, and I'm like, well, I really don't know who these people are, but when you read their bios, none of them are really qualified to be sitting here judging. But, you have qualified people judging who our football players are going to be on your next NFL football team. They're certainly not judged by a bunch of random people. They bring experts in their field.
That would be like us.
Yeah. Yeah.
He looks good in that uniform,
I
so
like it,
sure.
yeah. He runs fast. Is he going the right way? I don't know if he's
Can we
going
put
the
some
right way.
rhinestones on that ball?
So yeah, that would be like us
Sorry,
judging.
anyway.
As we digress. But yeah, the whole point is, I think we live in an era now where these girls have developed a skill set to compete.
Right.
And I think I do need to say this. It is a skill set to get ready for pageants. But we all know that what it comes down to is girls are being judged by 3 or 4 individuals subjectively.
Right.
But when these judges are using that subjectivity to pick a young lady, they should be qualified in that field to do so.
Absolutely.
Not just some random judge that goes, oh, I don't like her dress, I'm going to take her completely out. Okay.
Right. Or
Yeah.
I don't like that color, or she reminds me of somebody that I don't like. So
You should
I'm gonna pick
constantly
her.
be thinking about the whole
picture.
The whole picture.
And that's where I think, too, you were talking about the directors of the pageants. I think that the directors of the pageants really need to brief these judges before they go into the pageant, before interview, reconvene again before they come on stage that night, just to say, hey, this is what we're looking for, whether it be the consistency across the board, or whether it be, someone, if they've got a particular cause they really want the girl to promote or something. I mean, that's where the director needs to say, hey, just so we're all on the same page, this is what we're looking for.
I think that, again, like it goes back to the girls just the judges being qualified, and then you're
Yes.
right. It is the director's responsibility to explain to this group of people what it is they're supposed to be doing. And I'm sure when some directors read this, they're like, well, what are they talking about? What do they think? I don't talk to my judges. But I literally have judged some big pageants where I've had a judge lead over in the middle of it and go, I don't understand what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm like, okay, well, you really should have asked these questions before we got
Or
started.
before you agreed to do this?
Well, or you should have made sure that if you didn't understand that you approached the director if you were confused.
Right.
And and a lot of times too, because they do bring celebrities in, I don't think they brief these people. They get off a plane, they go to the hotel and change.
Right.
And they bring them right in, and you have somebody trying to explain a bunch of stuff to them while they're headed to the judge's table. I think that's great if you're a seasoned judge.
Right.
But I don't think it's a great situation for if you're new to judging. So the first thing we want to talk about from the girls' point of view, I feel like they're not wrong. I do feel like they're validated and just wanting to be judged by people who are professionals in the industry,
Right.
not just a bunch of random people that the judges asked to come and do this.
Right. I feel like if these girls are investing this much time, it's owed to them to have judges who know what to look for.
When you competed at Miss USA and for Miss Earth, what I felt like was a qualified panel of judges of your peers helped to get us down to the top 15. And then the top 15, any one of those 15 should have been able to be the winner of that pageant.
Yes.
Then they allowed a celebrity panel of judges just
To come in that night. Especially.
Yeah, and then I think that's fine because you've narrowed it down to 15 girls who any one of them literally could be the winner.
Right.
You're just letting the celebrity panel pick the winner, but I don't think it should be a panel of unqualified judges from the beginning.
Right.
The other thing I think it's important too is one of the pageant, I judged an international pageant one time, and the director sat down with the judges, and this would be advice that I think I liked her advice, and I hope that when directors are talking to their judges that they take this lady's advice. And she said, here's how I would like you to approach judging the girls this weekend, because it was a 3-day pageant. They said, if we give you 10 girls and you think every girl was a 10 in interview, give them a 10.
I like that.
Don't negotiate that one girl was, if they're a 10 in interview, and she said, and then when they go to evening gown, if you just don't like one girl in evening gown, then don't give her a 10 because you gave her a 10 in interview. Judge that category based on what she did in that competition. Because we do see that a lot of times. You see a lot of judges will pick a girl that they like in interview, and it doesn't matter what they do on stage. They just keep
Right.
giving them a 10 across the board, and that isn't really a competition. That's just you liking one girl and kind of lowballing everybody else to keep her score high.
Right.
But she said, please take every category and judge it judge interview, and then when they come out in swimsuit or fitness, judge them as if you've never seen them before.
It's like a clean slate every time.
Every time. And then, I don't know, I thought that was such a fair way to tell us to judge, because then like you said, it just eliminates one judge liking one girl and then just kind of lowballing everybody else
Absolutely.
to get their girl to rise to the top.
Right.
But I do think, again, it's on the directors. I think it's the director's responsibility to make sure your judges understand what it is they're doing and what you are looking for. So then let's say you are lucky enough to be asked to judge. Amanda and I have judged. We both judged across the country, which I think is an important.
I love it. And I can say I've been just as nervous judging as I was competing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I get that way too. I get butterflies, especially when they come in to interview. I'm never that judge that really wants to, I don't want to say trick girls or stump girls up. I just want, these girls have worked hard. You can ask smart, intelligent, difficult questions without trying to make it awkward or hard for the girl to.
One of my favorites was, if you could be a shape, what shape would you be?
Well, there was that.
Okay, well.
I also think too, if a director, so let's say that we're judging and the director gives the rules and regulations, and this could also go back to a pet peeve, and they tell you, don't ask the girls political questions. please take to heart what what the director tells you not to do. If they want you to stay away from politics, if they want you to stay away from religion, you should respect the wishes
Please
of.
stay away from the
Yeah,
things they want you to stay
I
away
think
from.
it's unfair when a girl goes into a pageant and the director goes, "You're not going to be asked these types of questions," and then the girls come out and they go, "Well, I got to ask
Every
political."
single one,
Yeah.
yes.
So again, I think it's on your part as a judge to respect the wishes of the directors when they give you some type of like rule or regulation like that also.
Right.
Another thing that I think if you're judging, it really is a fun experience. And a lot of times you get to go out of state. Sometimes you get to go out of the country. And you get to experience new things. You're a judge, but you're getting to experience things as a guest of this pageant. But at the end of the day, you should remember that you are there to be the best judge you can be for that competition. And I know this is a sticky subject, but it's just how I feel about it. I do not think judges should be allowed to drink before their competition. And I've personally seen where you go to dinner and they offer you alcohol, or they don't keep tabs on you and you're allowed to do this, that, and the other. But I think it's super, super unfair to the girls if you go to a competition, and I'm not even talking about one drink. You should be completely focused on that competition and not impaired in any way when you're trying to pick these young women.
Absolutely.
You know, and I mean, and it happens because I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen, and I've also had girls come back from interview, and I go, "How was your interview?" "My interview was great, but they smelled like liquor." And I'm just like, okay, well, that's never a great comment you want to get back.
No.
So again, I think it's just one of those things. You know, it's common to want to entertain your judges, and I think that's great.
Absolutely, but after all the judging is done.
Done, yeah. Or,
Yes.
you know, a time and a place or something like that.
Absolutely.
But never like right before a competition should
Yes.
you use this as an opportunity to entertain your judges in a way that it could be dangerous for the judging situation.
Yes, judging and alcohol. No, I don't think
Do
that
not
makes
mix.
sense. No.
So
No.
the other thing too is when you're asked to be a judge. I think a lot of times, what's great about the directors now, a lot of these directors ask for your information in advance, and they actually send it to you in a book, so you get to read up on all of the content. I know that happened to me when I did a pageant.
I love it when the directors do that, when they send you all of the applications in advance so you've got time to look through them. Because some judges, I mean, some pageants, you just can't help it. You just show up and
Right. Here it is.
here
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is. And then that's where I feel like as a judge, you really should stick to the application because you don't really have a whole lot of time to
I also
talk to these
think
girls.
that when they send you that information, it is your obligation to look over it.
Yes.
You know, I've been in, again, like I said, I've had lots of experiences over the 30 years. I walked in, I opened my book, I'm ready for the first contestant. Somebody sits next to me, they never opened their book once, and every girl that comes in, they go, "Well, tell me about yourself. Well, tell me about," they asked every girl that because they never once ever looked in that book. But I think if these directors really go the extra mile to get you this information and you've agreed to do this, it
That is
really
your
is,
responsibility.
it is 100% your responsibility to, it's your responsibility to make sure that you've read up on these girls.
Right.
Highlight the things you want to ask them so you're not struggling for questions in interview.
That would make me feel more comfortable as a judge walking in
And-
having all the personal things to make it be that more conversational experience for not just you, but for the girls too.
And you know, if you're going to judge professionally or you're going to judge more than one pageant, you're going to run up on a pageant that's completely unorganized and you're going to walk in and they're not going to give you anything. But as a judge, anytime I don't get anything advanced, I always prepare random questions that I have
Yes.
on a sheet that I type up that I take with me just in case they don't give me enough information to interview the girls. Then I feel like I have things that are relevant and generic enough that it gives these girls the opportunity to shine.
Absolutely.
So the other thing as a judge that I tell them is please have your own opinion. We all know that when you travel as a group of judges, sometimes you're allowed to speak to the other judges. I know one pageant I did, we were allowed to speak when we were as a group, but we were not allowed to socialize after, like when the pageant competitions were over and it was a 3-day event, you couldn't go to dinner with each other, you couldn't go to lunch with each other, you couldn't sit at the bar with each other, you just were independent unless you were a group. If you had a point to make, you had to make it to the group. I couldn't just go to dinner with you and go, well, what do you think about so-and-so?
You think that hurts
Well, I think
or helps?
well,
Or-
I think it's a pageant. It's not Survivor where you're trying to get people on your side.
That's true.
Just because I like a girl doesn't mean I should be trying to sway you into liking my girl.
That's true.
What I hope at the end of the day is that girl was strong enough, she made us all like her. But I don't think any one judge should be on the judges panel to influence
Everyone
else.
That's fair.
The other thing is too that I've seen when you're judging, you're going to be exposed to a lot of other people backstage.
Yes.
You're going to be exposed to MCs. You're going to be exposed to reigning queens. You're going to be exposed to reigning queens' mothers, and you're going to be exposed to the dancers and the singers. None of those people should have any. Well, first of all, if the pageant has integrity, they will keep all of these people away from you. But if a lot of these pageants, they like to make backstage social hour.
Right.
If they do that, none of their opinions about anything that these girls do should have an influence
Should
on
not
you.
come up. Right.
Yeah. Like the reigning queen, like you're a judge and I'm the reigning queen. Oh, a contestant so-and-so was my college roommate. Okay, well, what is that? Okay, well, good.
Okay.
Yeah, but at
Great.
the end of the day, you shouldn't even have that conversation
Right.
with
That's
a
just
judge.
unprofessional.
But what I'm
And
saying is,
not
but
good.
as a judge, you are going to be exposed to people backstage. But at the end of the day, it is your responsibility to keep focused on what you're there to do.
Yes.
And keep your opinions, the opinion you want.
Right. And stand true to that. Don't let, if anybody does try to approach you, go with your gut and with your heart with that. Because if you're feeling this contestant, then don't let somebody talk you out of that. And I feel like maybe as a judge, you could possibly feel that way if there's not stringent rules in place for you to not come into contact with opportunities that could sway you one way or the other.
Well, I also think it's important, too, for you to realize that if you're a novice judge, you're going to be on a judges panel with strong personalities.
Right.
But you're there because your opinion matters. You're not there to take on the opinion of somebody else.
Exactly.
A strong personality is going to make their opinion known, but you have to be even stronger to be like, okay, well, that's great, but this is the direction that I want to go in. And then one advice I can give you, which is a big pageant no-no, is if you have a girl that you like, there is nothing wrong with that. Score her accordingly, but don't lowball all the other girls
Because you want to keep
because
her
you
up
just
there.
want one girl that you happen to like. That is not, you're not giving those girls a fair chance or a fair assessment of what they're doing on stage.
That's happened before when I judged. This has been years ago. There was a woman on the panel. There were 3 of us. And she was giving babies zeros. Like, who gives a baby a 0? That made me so sad. I'm like, girl, what are you doing? And I couldn't help but see it. I mean, she was sitting right here, and they passed all the score sheets to me, and I had to hand them over to the auditor. And she didn't turn hers over. They're right here. I'm like, Mom, a baby does not deserve a 0. But she
Had picked one baby.
She did. And
She picked
every single one of those winners, none of them were even on my radar at all. So I feel like she may have done what you said.
Yeah, it's called lowballing, and
Yep.
we've seen it on the basic pageant, and we've seen it all the way to the national pageant. Now, again, like I said, I always go from personal experience. I judged a pageant where they flat out told us, if you lowball, we will drop your scores. So I think it's also important for directors to monitor. Yes, I think it's
rules
well.
in place.
I think it's important for the auditors and the judges to have a relationship, and they're getting the scores. But I think as a director, you can't just turn a deaf ear and go, okay, well, whatever happens with the scores. You need to, somebody on your committee needs to be monitoring scores to make sure you don't have a judge that either A, is confused about the judging system,
Right.
or B, has gone rogue and they're just giving everybody else 5s and giving this one girl a 10. But I think that's the responsibility of the director to keep up with what the judges are doing. But I think also if you're a judge, I think it lacks integrity if you judge that way. You should give every girl the opportunity to
fair shake.
a fair assessment of what they're doing, and then whatever happens at the end, happens. It should not be a narrative where I'm going to control this pageant. I'm going to control the winner because here's what I'm going to do, and the other judges can't do anything about it. And it happens, And like I said, it's up to everybody to play the game
Fairly, yes, absolutely.
So I hope today's podcast has helped you. If you're a director, we're just trying to give you a little bit of information where the contestants are concerned of what they look for. But also if you're lucky enough or honored enough to
Be
sit
asked to be a judge.
I know I'm honored every time.
Me too.
Listen, I don't care. They can ask me to judge the Poultry Festival, or they could ask me to judge Miss Universe.
We'll judge them all.
I'm just as honored because it takes the same amount of time to get ready for the
Yes.
Poultry Festival as does the Universe. There is no shortcut to getting ready, and I just admire any girl who's going to put themselves out there to be judged. But I think it's the responsibility of the director and the actual judge to be fair and give these girls a great experience and great feedback.
100% agree.
All right, this is Cyrus,
And Amanda.
and that wraps up this episode of the Gowns and Crowns podcast.
And remember, it's a world of beauty and a universe of possibilities.
We'll see you next episode.